Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris and I'm a gorilla in the wrist. Today we're looking at this well-loved Addiesdive AD2066, which has been a bit of a hit in the watch community, but I'm not so sure. Maybe I'm just being a bit harsh. Let's find out, shall we? So before we get into the detailed specifications for the watch, we'll do a quick run around for you. So what we have is effectively a 36mm sports watch. The lug-to-lug on it, and it does have dropping female end links, which I think is always really good. But the lug-to-lug on this comes in at 43mm. The lug width itself is 19mm. You can bet we'll be coming back to that a bit later on. But housing the VH31 movement as it does, it's only 11mm thick, which works really well. It has a screw-down case back and crown, and has 100 meters of water resistance. It has a domed mineral, it says K1 crystal. Not sure about that if I'm absolutely honest. However, it does have lots of AR coating, which you're probably getting a taste of there. So yeah, they haven't spared the horses on the AR coating. I think on this watch, the dial is the star of the show. So what we have is this sort of mint green sunburst effect. We have a minute track all the way around the outside. Let's just come in a little bit more. We have a minute track all the way around the outside. We have applied loomed indices. And the applied loom indices run over a small series of concentric circles. I'll try and see if we can. It's the problem of not having a macro lens. You can't quite see them. You're going to have to take my word that those are concentric circles. We have simple fence post hands. Silver fence post hands, which are loomed. We have the Addiesdive text above the pinion and 100 meters below the pinion. It has a polished bezel, which works really well. And then the rest of the case is a mix of high polish on the edges, a bit of a chamfered edge there, and brushed polishing on the top of the lugs and on the bracelet itself. So the bracelet itself is a fairly standard oyster. I've not taken it apart, so I don't know if it's a 3-link or a single link. It has a reasonable ladder clasp on it, which I think works particularly well. It does have the Addiesdive Divers logo on it, but it has safety clasps as well, and actually a reasonably good level of micro adjust. And talking of price, this one set me back the princely sum of £43.99 from AliExpress. So we did mention the domed mineral crystal, and also the crown, which sports the Addiesdive. Let's bring it in a bit closer. Which also includes the Addiesdive diver logo on it. And on the back, we have the screw-down case back, and again, a little bit of a spec sheet, but it has that Addiesdive diver logo on it. Okay, we're going to do a detailed run through the specifications for this watch. So it has a dial width of 36mm, so on the smallish side. Lug-to-lug should read 43mm. Lug width is 19mm, which is pretty bad, and we are going to come back to. It houses the VH31 movement, and as a consequence is only 11mm thick. It weighs in at 150 grams, quite light for a watch on a steel bracelet, has 100 meters of water resistance, and is on a K1 mineral crystal, which I can guarantee we will be coming back to in a little bit. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the things that I am not particularly enamoured with, things that I'm not a big fan of. And I suspect I'm less of a fan than most of the watch community of this one. There's quite a lot of hype around it. I'm not entirely convinced, other than the dial, that it lives up to much of that. But let's talk about specifics. My first problem I have with it is just the visibility. And it's a beautiful dial, but you have to get it right to be able to read the hands. The silver hands against the pale green is very, very hard to read at times. So I think visibility is a bit of an issue. The second thing is really a spec issue. Mineral crystal at this sort of price on AliExpress seems a bit unreasonable. And certainly I've other ADDIESDIVE watches, and they have arrived with sapphire crystal. So that I think is a bit disappointing. 19mm lugs, why? Why on earth would you do that? I can understand 18mm on a 36mm watch. 19 just seems odd, and it means you're not likely to have a strap that you can swap it onto. The fourth thing is that the branding is just all over the place. Now, I quite like the writing on the dial. That sort of italicized style of writing, I think really works well. But then we've got the diver emblem there, the diver emblem there, the diver emblem there. This is a watch with a bit of a split personality, I think. They need to sort that out. It may well be that they need a second brand for these sorts of watches, because I don't think the diver brand matches it at all. And then finally, I did mention it when we were doing the walk around. The bracelet is okay. But that's about as far as it goes. There is a bit of a gap in between those female end links. So it's not a great fit, if I'm absolutely honest. And it feels a bit, let's hold it up, feels a bit jangly. So yeah, I've got a few gripes about this particular one. Let's talk about the things that I like. I mean, the first thing is the dial. I mean, leaving aside the problems with the visibility, it is gorgeous. I mean, the colour is sumptuous. The sunburst works really well. It is unquestionably the star. The second thing, you will have seen the loom shot by now. The loom is pretty good. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised with that from an ADDIESDIVE watch, because they do tend to decently loom their watches. But on this one, for what is a sort of dressy sports watch, I guess. I'm not a great one for pigeonholing watches, but actually it has a decent level of loom on it. So it does have a decent VH31 movement with sweeping second hand, beating 4 times a second. Looks really good, and again, you'll see on the detailed spec, the movement of the hand, the second hand, is particularly smooth. So I think that's worth recognising. So I'm going to have a go at summing this one up. So I started this video by asking the question whether I was being maybe a little bit too harsh on it. And you will have heard my criticisms of it. I think my principal problem is just there is some weakness in the specification of this that didn't need to be there at this sort of price. And I've deliberately got the Pagani Design GS homage, which is a slightly bigger watch, but was priced at around the same level. It has a more substantial bracelet on it. Again, this one has a bit of a spectacular dial as well. VH31 movement. This one does have 20mm lug, so you're going to have more straps for it. And this one came with sapphire crystal. And so you kind of, when you're comparing these things and when you're thinking about the performance and your view of a specific watch, you kind of have to take those things into account. Having said all of that, this is still a decent watch. For all my criticisms, that dial is absolutely gorgeous. And my apologies that my camera doesn't do it any justice. But it does. But it is a gorgeous watch. I just think it has some flaws that I would hope version 2 improves upon. And I don't think they're difficult fixes. I don't think they're expensive fixes. So for me, I think this is one that's almost perfect, just needs a little bit more work on it. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe. I'll say what I always say: if you've bought this watch and you love it, that's absolutely fantastic. Ignore anything I say. It's a slightly gloomy Saturday afternoon in the UK. Christmas decorations will be going up in the next 24 hours, hence I'm excited. You get the sense of palpable excitement coming across. Loads more content to come in. I've had at least half a dozen watches coming in over the last week or so. I've probably got enough watch backlog to see me through to February. Let's hope nobody buys me a watch for Christmas. That's it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a fantastic time. I look forward to seeing you back very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.